Okay, you may begin.
Okay, so as Taylor said, I'm the social media manager here at GCU, so if there are any GCU social media sites that you follow, I probably have some, as long as they went through the proper channels, have some part in approving or helping or creating that content. So that includes Facebook and Twitter, Instagram, Snapchat, YouTube, Google+, nobody cares about Google+, Pinterest, a little bit of everything that we oversee. So definitely each day is very different. We also monitor what we like to call deep listening. So we have tools that allow us to see when you're talking about us. Yes, we see when you're talking about us, even if you don't tag us. But that's okay. We try not to be too big brother about it. We can see it, but what we do is we report on sentiment, so we're able to kind of measure everything you're saying and then send it up to the executive team and let them know, hey, parking is a real issue this week, or students are super excited that Panda Express opened. So it just depends on the day, but what you're saying on social media is being heard, I can assure you, by all of us. So that's a little bit about me and my job. I have a team of about 6 at this point, but it's rapidly growing. We're sort of helping out with athletics, so the team is about to expand a lot over these next few months. I think that's a little bit about me and my position. My position is in the marketing department. Depends on what organization you're at. Social media can live anywhere between marketing and communications and public relations, but the fact is that good social media is a little bit of everything. All marketing in social media is not going to be very effective. People are going to turn you off, they're going to unfollow you. And then the communications aspect is far more important. So we have to do a little bit of everything, but I do live within the marketing department here at GCU. So how we stay in touch with our various publics. So each account is a little bit different. You guys are probably using Facebook less and less. I would guess that's probably true for most of you. So we're not trying to talk to you on Facebook right now, or not very aggressively trying to talk to you on Facebook. We're trying to talk to you on Twitter. We're trying to talk to you on Snapchat. We're trying to talk to you on Instagram, places where you're actually at. It's more important for us to focus there to communicate with you. But as I'm sure you're aware, we also have a very large online student population. They're probably not using Snapchat because they're 55-year-old students that are attending classes online or coming to campus once a week, and they're probably using Facebook. So Facebook tends to be more of a focus for that online audience, which means that the language and the voice that we use, the way we post, changes from account to account. Obviously on Snapchat, if we were to post something about military benefits or about doctor of nursing practice programs, that probably wouldn't go over that well. Nobody's going to care. You're not going to care about that on Snapchat. So each account is a little bit different, and the language that we use has to change accordingly. So that changes every day too. So a couple years ago, you were using Facebook a lot, so we were trying to talk to you on Facebook more. That's changed. So it is a regular shift. If you don't like change or you don't do well with change, I don't suggest social media as a career for you, because it's probably not going to go very well. Every day is a little bit different. So like I said, we're trying to talk to you there. Facebook is more for online students. And the way we tailor those messages varies. A message for programs is probably going to go out on Twitter and Facebook, but the way it's written is going to be very different. And so one of the biggest pieces of social media is knowing how to write, and knowing how to write well. We get information from a number of different sources, but we have marketing managers that sort of manage all the different areas of the university, and they're able to take all that information and pass it along to us. So it's approved by compliance, it's ready to go, and we can recreate that and sort of shift everything around and make it work for social media. So each message is going to be a little bit different and going to live in a different place. So that's sort of how we're staying in touch with you. And like I said, every time Facebook releases a new change to their system, or Twitter decides they want more images, that changes. So which social media channels are used and how? Like I said, we use Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, Pinterest. I already said Instagram, right? Instagram? I get confused after a while. There are a lot of them. But I'm sure if you're following along that you're seeing that the way they look are pretty different. We're not taking the same content and pushing it out everywhere. You would get annoyed and you would unfollow us at all of them because you're tired of seeing the same stuff. So what we do is we try and make Instagram is more campus-based. You're gonna see stuff from events. You're gonna see stuff from just pretty pictures sometimes. Sometimes it's not even a post of anything significant. It's a picture of a bench on campus with a Bible verse. But you have to keep in mind also that we're catering to prospective students. Prospective students, I don't know, raise your hand if you use social media to decide where to attend college. Anybody look at social media accounts? No? Okay, well, you're an odd class because we know that like 80% of students in high school do. And so part of what we want to show them is that this is a vibrant campus. It's cool, it's pretty, there's lots going on. And we want to show them that through that where they're at, which is social media. So that's a little bit of what we do. Snapchat, like obviously Snapchat is pretty low key. Like I could just snap a picture of you guys and be like, hey, what's up? And that works for Snapchat. Totally great content. People will take screenshots. They'll be like, this is so cool. I'm on Snapchat. But that can't be done on Twitter or other places. So each channel is a little bit different. Snapchat, I don't know if you guys went to lip sync last week, but we used Snapchat for voting, which was kind of different. I'm sure you're going to complain about how bad the Wi-Fi sucks in the arena. It sucks really bad. They're upgrading it, I promise. We'll see if that helps. I don't know. But we're trying to be a little bit innovative and trying to do some different things with Snapchat that maybe you haven't seen before. So bear with us as we figure out the technology issues that go with that. So one of the things that, like I shared with you, we have these marketing managers. So we have a marketing manager that is specifically for the College of Education, one that's specifically for the College of Business. And so they meet with those deans, the directors, all the people within those programs about once every week or a couple times a week. And what they're able to do is then kind of condense all that information or everything important that came from that. And then that comes to me. And it comes to me in the form of images. Images are very important for social media. Some are better than others. But it comes in images and approved content. So a lot of what you see coming from my team has already come through a marketing manager and been approved. Some of the other stuff, like we post a verse every day. Our verse is tailored from my team. They go through the Bible, bless my student workers, that have to go through the Bible and make an entirely new verse of the day calendar for every year. Thoughts on Purpose is the same thing. We go through and we kind of pick and choose quotes that are inspirational that we think would be really engaging with students. So one of the keys here is finding things that are engaging. Followers are important, but not nearly as important as the amount of engagement you're getting on posts. If you have high quality, visually stimulating content, people are going to engage with it. They're going to favorite it, they're going to retweet it, and that's a lot more meaningful than having a bunch of followers. So that's a really important piece of the puzzle, is having that content. So with our deep listening tool, we have a few different systems that we use, and UberView is what our deep listening tool is called, and we can have anywhere from 600 to 5,000 posts every day that are people mentioning us, and we're able to pull those posts in based on keywords, and you don't have to tag us in them. They're coming in anyways, and we rate them by sentiment, and we tag them based on the subject. So we're able to go in and pull a report that's just athletics, or just complaints about parking, or just whatever's going on that week. And we're able to generate a report to send to the executive team. So I have a team of student workers that actually goes through those posts for us, so I don't have to do it because it can be a lot. And so that's sort of how we handle the volume of that. And definitely figuring out how to post messages and when to post messages is always a challenge as well. So it's figuring out when are people online. And social media accounts are really cool because they tell you when people are online these days. So we're able to say, okay, we know people are online at 7 p.m. We know people are online at 8 p.m. And we're able to schedule those accordingly. So that's a big piece of the puzzle, making sure that we're getting to where people are actually at. Because your generation, people younger than you, are not going to aggressively seek out content. It's our job to get to them, to go to them where they're at. So, any questions on what I've talked about so far? I know it's a lot. Social media is a lot.
So like the bad messages that you get on like Twitter, how do you guys funnel that and like make decisions on what to do next?
That's a great question. So it depends on the message. The thing about Twitter and the thing about really social media in general these days is that you guys don't necessarily think about what you're posting before you post it. And sometimes you don't even want help at all, you just want to complain. I caution you about that, and I'll talk more about why that's not a good idea later. But basically, we have a process where we report all of those complaints to the Department of Education. And my team escalates those. So if you have an issue with a counselor, your counselor will not call you back, and we all know that's an issue sometimes. We are able to send that to the counselor. We're able to look you up in the system, or have you send us a DM and ask for your full name so we can find you in the system. Send it to the counselor, send it to their manager and their manager's manager to get you help, to make sure you're getting help in a timely manner. And then we report on that. So the decision-making process is usually just a judgment call. Are they actually serious about their complaint? Which usually we can tell if they are. They're tagging us, they're like, I need help with this. Usually you can tell in the language. Or they're just complaining for the sake of complaining, which you do a lot. It's cool, I do it too. Here's why you shouldn't do that though. I'll touch on this early. Your future employers are going to look for you on social media. Just wanted to let you know that. There are a few people that I specifically did not, I'm hiring for graduate assistants right now. Didn't even get an interview because I looked at their social media and one of them got tagged in a disparaging photo. One of them complained about everything. And you may not think it's a big deal to complain on social media, but is somebody gonna wanna hire you if you complain all the time? No, they're gonna be like, see ya. So it's so important. You think it's private, you think it's your own social media, it's not. Let me caution you. It is not your own and it is not private, no matter how much you think it is. So I suggest getting into Facebook, getting into Twitter, and putting those accounts on lockdown, and thinking twice before you post anything on social media.
It's called Uberview, so the thing that you guys use. Is that based off of the wireless network? Like, so can you guys look into private accounts? Because like there is a difference. Like I know that there's technology which can allow like the FBI to see within a certain radius anyone's post, but even the FBI can actually look at a account if it's all private.
Great question.
So can you guys do that or no?
So in the same way that they can, we can see posts even if the person's profile is private, but we cannot go in and look in their profile any further. We actually also have access to our security, GCU campus security also has a system like that where they're able to look at posts. They have keywords that they search for on campus. So you guys just got like a super bonus because now you know how we're watching all of you. Don't tell your friends.
My question is like, how is that legal? How can you bypass the security wall?
You can't. If your profile is private, we can't see past it, but we can see the post. If it fits the criteria of what we're looking for, it'll still come through. We just won't be able to go into your profile and look at the rest of your post.
Can you see our names, I guess? Is that like
if it's in your Twitter account, yeah.
Oh.
I'll also tell you that I'm pretty, not to brag, I'm pretty good at finding people on social media. That's part of my job. So even if you use an alias, people will probably be able to find you. It's not that hard.
Mine's kind of a change of subject, but you said Facebook's kind of like a dying thing. Are you going to try to like reboot that at all?
Can you read the questions, Becky?
Sure,
So we'll have it on
sure.
audio.
So you asked whether Facebook is a dying thing and if we're going to try and reboot it. So Facebook is not nice to brands. I will tell you as a social media professional, I think Facebook is stupid and they're the worst. And when they became a publicly traded company, they saw brands and brand pages and they were like, they saw dollar signs. That's all they saw. And so basically, they want us to pay for every single post to be seen. They don't want to show any of them organically because we're a brand and we have a bunch of people that like our Facebook page. I'm not going to do that. I'm not going to pay when I could be spending money on other things that are a lot more helpful to what we're doing day to day. I'm not going to pay them for it. So the key to kind of getting by that is figuring out what would be the most engaging post. Because if you have an image that performs really, really well, or you have some content that's very engaging, the more people engage with it, the more it will be seen. But the fact is that at the end of the day, Facebook will show your content. If you're a brand and you're on a page, Facebook will show your content 1% max organically. So it is not created to benefit brands at all unless they're willing to pay a lot of money. So, and to answer that also, our online students are very engaging there. They're looking for a secondary place to kind of connect with people, and so we've really just kind of focused on online students with Facebook. They're there, they're talking to us, they're engaging, so.
Does your Twitter and Instagram, all your accounts, are they just at GCU, or do you have specific ones that break off? So like, if you wanted to just address the alumni or the vets, or what other subgroup there may be?
Great question. He asked whether our accounts are all specifically GCU or whether we have different accounts for different groups. We have different accounts for different groups. So one of the things that my team does is sort of acts like a consultant, per se. So we're in the marketing department, but we have people in tech support, in alumni, in a number of different areas that manage social accounts on our behalf. So what we're able to do is say, here's a really great idea for alumni, or here's a really great thing we saw that ASU did for their athletic channels. And so we sort of act as a consultant. We provide them with resources, and then we let them go, we train them, let them go, and then we just sort of check in with them every once in a while. So there are accounts for alumni, tech support, athletics, all the athletic teams, library, Vet Center has a Facebook group. We've tried to accommodate anybody who comes to us in the best way possible, depending on what their needs are.
Can you give an example of some of the words that like your system looks up?
Sure. Which system?
Like when you're looking for like complaints, or like, if you're looking for like things that like people are saying about GCU, and people don't put GCU like in their tweet or like their post.
Yeah.
Specifically, like can you still pick those up?
So the question was about what we pick up through our system. So my system, UberView, is specifically targeting people who use the words Grand Canyon University or GCU. Any combination of those we get, which, if you didn't know, there are a bunch of other GCUs out there. Greeting Card Universe, Glasgow Caledonian University, Government College University in Lahore, Pakistan. Bet you didn't know that. I know that, because I have to deal with them all the time. So we just pull in that. Campus security, GCU security, pulls in a whole lot more than that. They're pulling in keywords for any code of conduct violations, anything. And their stuff isn't limited to a GCU. So we're monitoring people for what they're specifically saying about us, though.
So you said that Facebook was bad for brands. What is a good social media for brands?
So he said, I said Facebook is bad for brands and asked what kind of social media would be good for brands. It totally depends on what your brand is and what it is you're trying to accomplish with social media. So I gave the example in the last class, Instagram approached us about advertising. So we spend money with Facebook. Facebook now owns Instagram. They're like, hey, you should spend some money here. So Instagram is really, really great for e-commerce. I'm sure in your Instagram feed, you've seen, like I see Michael Kors ads all the time, or Old Navy, or whatever. E-commerce is great because people will click through and then they're willing to make a purchase online. I might see a dress on Instagram and be like, yep, I'm buying that. I'm clicking through and I'm buying it completely on my phone. Education, for us, is it really valuable to be advertising on Instagram? Probably not for anything other than just branding. Showing a pretty picture of campus, saying find your purpose, and putting it out there. That's probably the greatest value we'll get from Instagram. So it totally just depends. Small businesses tend to do a little bit better on Facebook pages just because they have fewer followers. For us, we have a lot of followers, and so Facebook knows that it can make money off of us because we're spending money with them in other ways. So it's a bit of a challenge. It's my like stick it to Facebook moment. I will not pay for my post to be seen. So if you see sponsored posts on Facebook, those are probably specifically enrollment-based posts, and we actually have a whole different team that manages that. So my stuff is more branding. Does that answer your question? It just depends. I mean, some people use Yelp all the time. That's great for businesses. Twitter works great. Anything athletics related is perfect for Twitter. Twitter is built for sports. Very visual things are Instagram. It just totally depends on the business what works best. So it's kind of a vague answer.
Do you ever look at Yik Yak? Because I feel like that's used.
Do I ever look at Yik Yak? Yes, we do.
Didn't you guys take it off one point?
Yes, you cannot access Yik Yak on our Wi-Fi. Not that that keeps any of you from complaining. We monitor Yik Yak, and all social, no matter how anonymous your social media is, law enforcement actually has a direct line to all social media accounts. And so if there's something that pops up on there that's a real problem, we can handle it. For the most part, really, truly, for the most part, we're just watching to kind of see what you guys are talking about and figure out what needs to be changed or what needs to be updated or fixed or whatever. We're not trying to like intrude in your social media. It's really more of kind of having an idea of the pulse of campus. So yes, we do look at Yik Yak.
You said for your applicants for your job that you check their social media and you didn't like hire them basically. For someone like me, like I don't really post, but the stuff I favorite, it's kind of funny. Like it's funny to like my age people. Like it probably wouldn't be funny to adults. Would that like matter? Because if they looked at my actual post, like they would just see like, oh, he just talks to his friends and stuff. Like he just says like, oh, like what's up, or like, oh, that's what you're doing. But like my favorites, like I just favorite funny videos. So like, is that a problem?
For the most part, your HR professionals are probably not super hip to everything going on social media. They're probably just going to look at what you're pushing out on Twitter in general. They might not even look at your replies, which replies are really where the bad stuff happens. We know that. I would say, do you really want to risk somebody seeing something and being like, what, he favorited a video that's like full of profanity? I don't know about that, no matter how funny it is. Do you want to risk it? I think is the question you have to ask yourself. I would definitely say you want to have your profile private. Make sure nobody can see anything, but just keep that in mind as you're favoriting things. Keep that in mind. Who could be seeing it down the road? Because like Google's storing all of it. 20 years from now, things that you favorited are still accessible. So you just have to keep that in mind. It could come back to bite you. Does that answer your question?
Yeah, so I know the monitoring thing is pretty new, and like you did bring up the point of how like you'll go look at a person's social media before you hire them. And I think eventually down the line, because so many people are on it, there'll probably be some type of social discrimination law against people not giving people interviews simply because of the photo.
Mm-hmm.
But I guess my question is, there isn't anything in like the GCU handbook that really discusses like the fact that even if our posts are private, the GCU will still be able to watch you. And so I guess my question is for you, do you think that you guys are gonna, I guess, be coming from a Christian school, let the students know that even if they choose to remain private, which is choosing for you not to view them, you guys still will? And are you gonna communicate that over to students, or will they just kind of be in the blind?
So to answer your question, your Facebook it's public. It is public domain. We can see it. We don't have to tell anybody that we can see it at all.
Right. Well, Facebook may be different, but like Twitter and Instagram's privacy settings, if that's set on private,
it's still coming through our deep listening platform, and it's still public. It's still public.
Right, but like the students don't know that you guys can still see that. So I guess, are you ever going to communicate to students like, hey, even though you guys request to be private, that's not actually a thing?
Probably not, because ultimately we like to preach social media responsibility regardless of who can see what you're posting.
Right.
The fact is that if everybody knew that I could see everything with GCU and Grand Canyon University, they would stop using it. So it's a benefit to us, certainly not even from a discipline perspective, just from the perspective of being able to see kind of the pulse of campus, see what you guys think, how you're feeling, what you're complaining about. It's an advantage to us for everybody to not necessarily know that we have access to that. And like I said, we're not doing anything negative with it. It's to your benefit, making sure that the executive team can see, hey, this is a real problem. We need to address this. Or you did a great job with this one. Or people are mad there's more construction. Whatever that is. So it's really to their benefit. And the fact is that you're right. This will continue to be addressed. Social media will continue to be a subject, especially in hiring. The fact is that the Supreme Court is slowly ruling on cases, and the reality is that you could interview somebody and not like them for the same reasons that they're pushing stuff out on social media. And so there is a lot of debate about how much you can and can't do. But the fact is, as a social media manager, there's no way I'm hiring somebody that doesn't know how to lock down their social media profiles or that doesn't put a good light on the university through their social media, because people will look them up. People will find out who they are. People will look them up. Like, you probably didn't know who was behind the GCU brand until today. But if you wanted to, you could go look me up on social media, and you would find my accounts. So,
I'd imagine somewhere in when we signed up for Instagram and Twitter, in the small print, we could probably find that we gave them permission to look at all of our stuff, which we never read that small print because it's such a pain in the butt to read, right?
You did. And we're able to share your Instagram pictures. Like, if we have an Instagram contest, we do have contest language that protects us, and so we can use your content as long as you use our hashtag. But the fact is that your content is public. Private or not, it's public. So that's why we're able to, that's why those systems like UberView is able to dial into the API of all these different social media sites and pull in those posts and search the internet. And the fact is that more and more social media posts are being searched by Google. So you'll notice that the more you search for stuff, Google is starting to show social media posts in that. And that's happening more and more. So does that answer your question?
Yeah, I mean, I think like if the entire like student population would be aware of like the level of monitoring, there'd probably be some type of backlash. Like there'd probably be some like unease. And so like I understand that from your guys' point, there's a benefit to it, but as students, we're seeing that as that's your guys' choice, not ours. So, and I work for GCU. I have my social media cleaned up. I think it's super actually responsible to know how to handle it. But at the same time, like, it's something like, I mean, if students knew how much they were actually being monitored, it's kind of uncomfortable, actually. To be quite frank, and I work for GCU, there's nothing on my social media that people can point out, but like just taking it from both sides, students don't know.
I will tell you that almost every brand out there is monitoring what people are saying about them. And it's not just that we're monitoring students. It's not students specifically. It's anybody who's talking about us. And it would be, in my opinion, irresponsible for us to not know what people are saying about us. Because the fact is that it's public. It's accessible. Why would we not want to know what people are saying? And I will tell you that the frequency of me having to deal with any level of discipline through social media is few and far between. Most of the time, people are smart enough that they're not going to post their stuff and even mention GCU as they're doing things. But the fact is that it is it's accessible to every brand in the world. And I would tell you that almost every brand is doing it. ASU is watching all of their students too. The fact is that you didn't know that we were watching until I just told you, because the fact is that we don't interact. It's not a big brother thing. It's not at all that we're trying to stop social media use or change social media use. The fact is that it's a benefit for us to be able to say this is a real issue, or because the executive team is in meetings, you know, they want to dial in on what's going on campus. They want to be informed. They want to know what's going on. They care about you guys. They care about the campus. They care about your experience. And so the best way for us to know how to change that experience, what needs to be changed, or you know what we're doing well, is through a very, very honest social medium, which people are honest on social media. They will say whatever they think. But the fact is that it's public. It's public. You agreed to the privacy settings. So we're able to look in there, and the fact is that we've told people before that we can see all of it. I have student workers that I'm sure have told their friends. But the reality is that we're not violating anything, and I think it's to everybody's benefit for us to be able to see what people are saying, just because it's good for you, it's good for us. When parking was like a huge issue a couple years ago, we were able to escalate that over and over and over again and say, this is a real issue. And so that's when we started acquiring more property, and there were more lots. You may not have loved where the property was, but the fact is you had more parking. So
let's make sure we hit more of our bullet points. We can certainly just continue this discussion in class, but let's go to the one about how you get direction, say, from Brian Mueller and his team. How does he communicate with you, Becky?
Sure. So since I'm in the marketing department, most of what comes from the executive team comes through my vice president. And so that can be anything from AZ Central. We really want AZ Central to be on campus more. We want them to be featuring the cool things we're doing in the community. Let's make sure we're sharing their articles.
And AZ Central being?
The Arizona Republic, that is their online news source. That's their website. And so the more clicks that we get on those articles, the more willing, because they're money makers too, the more willing they are to come to campus and feature us. So sometimes it's as simple as us sharing more AZ Central articles, which we've done. That was something that we really got. So usually those types of requests come in through our vice president, the marketing vice president, who sends them directly to me, and we're able to figure out what the best way is to meet that request. Usually we have a pretty good pulse on what's coming down the pipeline through those marketing managers that I shared with you that exist within that traditional side of the marketing department who regularly talk to the deans. They usually let us know if it's something that's very important to the executive team, and so we prioritize that accordingly. So, I'm supposed to talk a little bit about LinkedIn. As you probably feel, I also hate LinkedIn and hated LinkedIn at your age. I will tell you that I still don't love LinkedIn, but we have to appreciate its importance and how incredibly vital it is to you getting a job. The fact is that LinkedIn is far easier to access than any of your other social profiles, and so your future employers are going to be looking at your LinkedIn. So first of all, you should have a well-built LinkedIn profile. If you don't have a headshot, have a friend take their phone, take a nice photo of your face. That's all it takes. You don't have to have anything particular, anything fancy, not a studio shot. You just need a nice snapshot of you. No photos from the beach, no photos from your sister's birthday party on Mill Ave. Please, no photos from your sister's birthday party on Mill Ave. This is your professional profile. You should not be posting your stuff from Facebook onto LinkedIn. No share posting. That's a bad decision. It is very much a professional place for you to go. You should make those connections, build your network, and ask people that you've worked with previously, both even with you, colleagues, bosses, directors, whoever it is, ask for reviews. People look at those. People care. It's an easy place for them to see what other people think of you without having to make a phone call. So make sure you have that LinkedIn profile built out really, really strongly. I get requests from recruiters all the time on LinkedIn. They see me as a good candidate for some of their jobs. And recruiters, I will tell you, are who are using LinkedIn the most probably for job placement. And if you look like somebody that's a strong candidate that their organization they're working for is going to love, and they're going to make a bunch of money by delivering you to that organization, you better believe they're going to reach out to you. Whether it's I've gotten phone calls through LinkedIn offering me positions. So it's really, really, really important that I emphasize to you how vital LinkedIn is in today's hiring age, because people do use that for hiring, and they do look at it for sure. And it's designed for that. So get involved, make those connections, build out that profile. It will serve those connections for you. You put the places you've worked, it'll tell you people you should know. It's really easy.
Have you made any lasting connections on LinkedIn since you've been using it?
That's a good question. Because this is my first job out of college, so I haven't had a whole lot of need per se, but I will tell you that we present all of the college's alumni with a group strategy for them to utilize LinkedIn to make to allow our students to make more connections, to put them in a forum where, like alumni, you have alumni from who knows how far back, and that's a place for them to be able to connect with recent alumni or whoever it is that's connected to GCU. So groups are a great function for that, for making those connections and building relationships. Groups are really easy to find. You just search for what kind of groups you want to join. And that's a great place to make those connections, because you don't really want to be a LinkedIn troll and you want to just go like request people that you probably don't know. They probably, if they approve you, they'll probably like, who is this weirdo that's trying to make a connection and I don't know them. So it's usually better to only connect with people that you know or that it makes sense, or at least an acquaintance. So I myself, I've made a few connections for my job, certainly with people in GCU. There have been a few people who have connected with me and I've been like, oh, that's the perfect person for me to contact when I have an issue with whatever it is. When I have an issue with, we have a complaint from international students or whatever it is. So there have been some benefits definitely for me putting a face to names, two names there, excuse me. Does that answer your question? Okay.
You've gotten job offers strictly based on what you have on LinkedIn.
Yes.
Unsolicited, that's
Yep,
awesome.
yep. Headhunters are all over there. There is a LinkedIn Premium that they can use that will allow them to kind of search through candidates in a little bit more in depth. And so that is a regular, people get headhunters coming after them on LinkedIn all the time. So, any questions about
So
that?
I want to honor my promise to Becky to have her finished at about this time. So any final questions for her? Definitely ask them. I think it's great that you're here and really looking inside at some things we've talked about in depth in this class.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for coming. It's actually super, super interesting.
Yeah, of course, of course.
How did you like get the job?
Good question. How did I get the job? So I graduated from ASU and I was interning with Phoenix Union High School District. I had done the sports thing and I was like, all right, I don't really want to do this long term.
You worked for the Coyotes and Diamondbacks.
I worked for the Coyotes and the Diamondbacks, and it was kind of like, it's a really hard life to work in professional sports. It's fun, it's exciting, but it's very long. Long days, long homestands. So I started in education and I loved Phoenix Union High School District. They have schools all over actually this area. And I found the job online and my former boss was super pregnant. So they were really motivated to hire. And it was just a great fit. She ended up leaving for another organization not long after she got back from maternity leave, and they promoted me. They felt like I did a good job. And so it was a huge blessing. And it's been an incredible first job for me because GCU is just growing like crazy. So it's nice to be a part of something that big and figuring it out. I'm really lucky. I like to say I live on social media island. I kind of live outside of the traditional marketing scheme, and so I have the ability to do some different things and play around with testing some different messaging and doing some cool stuff that maybe some other people don't have the opportunity to do. So I'm really, really lucky that I've been able to sort of shape my path. So, any other questions?
As a social media manager, how do you deal with people who not as much complain but are trying to bash the school or give bad reviews to it, or trying to get like a post saying the school sucks, don't come to it, and try to get retweeted over and over again so like everyone can see it?
We like to refer to those people as trolls. That's the nice word that we use in the social media world. How do we deal with backlash? If there is any foreseeable, we do as much research as we can into the student, if it is a student, to try and figure out if there's any way that we can help them. Is there any way that we can make their situation better, that we can get some communication to them, get someone to talk them through whatever their complaint is. As I'm sure you've seen, GCU is expanding a lot, so every once in a while we'll get a complaint from the neighborhood, and there's not anything you can do with that. So one of the things you have to be able to just acknowledge and be okay with on social media is that we don't have control. We don't have control about what people are saying to us. We can only control how we react. So if somebody is complaining and there's really no way to help it, we have a message that legal helped us draft. That's basically like, we're so sorry that you're frustrated with your experience. And it sort of gives them an email address and it sort of tries to take it offline. But the reality is that sometimes there's nothing we can do about it. We get Better Business Bureau complaints sometimes that are people just mad for the sake of being mad. And you have to be okay with the fact that social media gives them the freedom to say that and say whatever they feel about us. And if we can't help them, then it is what it is. Not everybody's gonna love us. And sometimes that's hard to communicate. That's hard to communicate with my bosses, that this person is mad, but you know, there's not really anything we can do to make it better for them. And that's okay. That's okay. So it makes me glad I don't work in places like the airline industry or anything like that where people just are mad all the time.
How closely do you work with GCU leadership?
It just depends on the issue pretty closely. I'm able to. I have the executive team I don't work with quite as closely as I do vice presidents, and there are a few of them that I work with very regularly. So the vice president of public relations, and I talk all the time. Anytime there's an issue, whatever we push out has been approved by him and probably approved by Brian Mueller, president. So most of my interaction with the executive team comes through the VP group, but it's pretty regular. I mean, social media, there's a new issue every day. Every week is something new and exciting. So there's never a dull moment, and I need their help to make those decisions. My crisis communications was one of my passions in school, so I feel like I have a pretty good handle on what's okay to say and what's not okay to say. But the fact is that they're the decision makers, and they need to make the decision about what we're going to push out on social when there's an issue coming up.
Do you think GCU understands the importance of social media?
I do. More and more, I think that they get better and better about understanding that. And I think part of that is the reports we send them. So we send them something we call weekend tweets, where we just pull a bunch of tweets that are like highlights from what people have said on Twitter this week. And so they have just a little glimpse into what we're seeing. And so I think that they understand the value of it and understand how vital it is to decision making for school and to whether or not you stay at a certain school. And so they've been very good to provide those resources to me and help us in our jobs in any way they can.
Becky, I
Cool.
want to really thank you for being here. This has been really great.
All right. Thanks, guys. And I can give my information to Taylor too, so you guys can send me emails if you have any other questions. I'm always happy to answer them anytime I can help out.